Hi there and welcome back to the BroBryceHealth channel. My name is Bryce L. Tomlinson and today I am doing my final thoughts on the bacon experiment. Today is day 30 of my bacon experiment and I have eaten nothing but pork and bacon for the last 30 days. So I'm going to tell you what it's like to eat nothing but pork and bacon for 30 days straight. So to get started, let's get rid of all distractions. I want to relay to you a little bit of encouragement that Dan Quibel gave me right toward the end of the bacon experiment. And he said, I feel like you're on the right track. And exactly what I hope for is that people make it into a learning experience. You have done exactly that. You changed beliefs and proved things to yourself. I think we only learn by experimenting and having an open mind to see what actually works and what is actually possible, and not just repeating other people's opinions and belief. Thank you, Dan, and thank you also to Jason Maddox for your tips and hints and encouragement along the way. I've written down several things that I wanted to keep in mind for people who are thinking about doing the bacon experiment. These are things that you're going to have to think about, you're going to have to prepare yourself for. Before you get started, you should probably know these things. And this is just me kind of summarizing what I think about the bacon experiment. First off, I think the bacon experiment is a great way to kickstart a ketogenic lifestyle. And it really gets you prepared for getting rid of carbohydrate cravings and getting rid of sugar cravings. It'll basically tell you what you're made of. The first point that I have is read the PDF that's in the group. Read the whole thing. Read it cover to cover. Read about the supplements that you're going to need. The supplements are basically magnesium and potassium, and the kinds of products that they recommend for this experiment are important. And I'm going to put links in the description for the exact products that I use. You don't have to use those links, I don't care, but I just want to make sure that you get the right thing. Whether you get it from the store or whether you get it from Amazon or eBay, I don't care where you get it. If you're going to do it right, do it with the right supplements. For my magnesium, I used a magnesium malate and it's 1,000 milligrams, and I cut it into quarters, and I would use that first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning, I have a recipe on my BroBryceHealth channel for an apple cider vinegar cocktail, and in addition to the salt, I'm also putting in the potassium. The potassium is the no salt supplement. I find that when you combine it with salt, you can hardly taste the aftertaste in the potassium. I think that that's a big stumbling block because it really tastes terrible, the no salt by itself. But if you put salt in it, it kind of just masks the flavor of it completely. A lot of you won't be using salt because you're eating bacon. But if you just put like a dash of salt, it does take the edge off of it. The magnesium malate, I take that in the morning because it's an energizing format. Also magnesium glycinate or glycinate. That's the one that he recommends in the PDF, but he also recommended malate as another form of magnesium, and it works just as well, but I wouldn't take that at night because it's kind of energizing, whereas the glycinate is relaxing. So malate in the morning, glycinate in the evening, or just take glycinate in the evening. It just make sure you take enough of it. For my glycinate, I took 400 milligram and cut it in half. And so I had the 1,000 cut into quarters, so I was getting 250 in the morning and 200 at night. I took that religiously and potassium in there. Now I would spread out quarter teaspoons of potassium throughout the day. I would take 3 or 4 quarter teaspoons throughout the day in my water, because for a large portion of the bacon experiment, and I'm going to get into this in a minute, I wasn't actually eating bacon. I was eating pork belly or pork loin or pork chops. I needed to have more salt, so I added salt to my water in addition to salting my meat moderately. You should have those supplements handy before you start, okay? Do that before you start. Don't do like I did and wait till 3/4 of the first week before you get the right supplements. Get those supplements first thing. Before you start, right before you start, take pictures, get your weight, and write down your inches. I would recommend, if you have a scale that shows you the body fat, or if you have someone who can help you figure out your body fat percentage, write that down, because that became important to me. The back of the PDF, if you print it out, it has all those before and after things. Take those things down, write them down. That's important. It became a big thing for me. Weekly progress. Make sure that you're carrying your no salt and your salt, if you're using salt as a supplement, handy on you at all times. What I did is I went to work, I have to refill my water throughout the day, and I would just add a 1/4 teaspoon of the no salt for the potassium throughout the day. If you were eating bacon, then you're probably getting plenty of salt. If you're eating other forms of pork, then you probably need to add salt. So I would add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. If not, then just add like a dash of salt to take the edge off the bitter aftertaste of the potassium. Just keep that throughout the day, because you need 4,700 milligrams of potassium throughout the day, and you're only going to get a small percentage of that from the pork itself, so you need to get that somewhere. As you're going throughout your process, if you notice differences in the way that you feel, and maybe even like the way that you act, your temperament, or how you're moody or not moody, or whatever it is, that stuff can be encouraging, or it can be stuff that can help you provide feedback for other people that are thinking about starting it. If you notice that you have more strength or less strength at certain times, observe those differences, write them down, or keep a record of them somehow. Eat when you're hungry and listen to your body. One of the things that I learned, especially like in the last week, there was a point where I got really hungry in the middle of my day. Now, for the most part, I eat one meal a day, and I wait till I get home from work and I eat the whole thing right there. I eat all my calories in one sitting. Now, for the bacon experiment, they advise having maybe 2 meals spread out like 2 to 6 hours apart. That's a great plan, and it keeps you in a pattern of what they call intermittent fasting, where the rest of your day your insulin levels go way low and your body goes into what they call autophagy, which is where it's basically consuming excess cells, and that could be in the form of fat cells that it's using for fuel. It could be in the form of extra skin. As you notice that I don't really have a whole lot of extra skin. That's because I do regular intermittent fasting. Even though I lost over 100 pounds, I still don't have a whole lot of extra skin. There was one point in the last week where I was really hungry in the middle of the day, and I actually thought that I might have a problem if I didn't eat soon. So I went ahead, and where I work, they sell pre-cooked bacon. So I bought a package that's equivalent to 4 pounds of bacon, and I ate half of it. And it was pre-cooked, so I didn't have to worry about messing with it. I just sat there and ate it. Freaked people out in the lunchroom, but you know what? It picked me back up, and the next day I actually packed some pork loin with me, and I felt great. So I would say eat when you're hungry. Don't force a fast. Eat when you're hungry. If you are doing the bacon experiment correctly, you'll find that your cravings are less and less. I was not hungry for the rest of the day after I ate those 2 pounds of bacon. Now, you should never try to force that. That should be a natural thing. You don't fast because you should. You fast because you're not hungry. If you're hungry, go ahead and eat. That's the beauty of the bacon experiment. It's kind of idiot proof. If you are a person that is constantly having to eat throughout the day, then there's either something going on psychologically or there's something going on metabolically, and you need to pay attention to it. 2 meals is going to be probably just great for most people. Frankly, I had a hard time getting down 2 pounds of bacon. It was kind of difficult. So it's actually easier with bacon to space it out. But I found that even though it looked like pork loin was like really intimidating, huge plate of food, it was easier to get it down, probably because it had less salt in it. You need to know about the seriousness of cramps you will experience when you are adapting. Either A, you're not dealing with the right supplements, and you should go back to the first thing that I talked about, making sure that you have the right supplements ahead of time, or B, you're really not as adapted as you think you are. Like, you're not as ready for this as you think you are. Like, for instance, I've been fat adapted keto for years now, and I've lost most of my weight already. I did make the mistake of not having the right supplements in the first week. It's possible that it could be just the supplements. I have to also consider that maybe I was not as keto adapted as I thought I was, and I actually went through the whole keto flu thing in the first week. Going back to what I was saying about skipping my supplements for one day, I had really serious cramps that woke me up last night just because I forgot to take the magnesium and potassium throughout the day. So I spaced it and I paid for it last night. So make sure that you're getting your supplements or your first week will be miserable. Those cramps are no joke. They will make you cry. They will make you wish that this was over. They will make you want to stop doing this and say, what is this nonsense that I'm putting myself through? And in fact, even if you're doing it right, if you're not keto adapted, that adjustment period might still be pretty harsh, and you need to be aware of that before you start the bacon experiment. Your friends are going to say, isn't that gonna clog up your arteries? The answer is, fat does not clog your arteries. Inflammation clogs your arteries with cholesterol that your body makes. It's not caused by saturated fat. Bacon has some of the most bioavailable fat in it that you can think about. People are going to be concerned about you eating so much processed meat. Nitrates are very common in the natural world in vegetables that are highly concentrated, far more concentrated than they are in bacon, mind you. But unless you cook nitrates at over 350 degrees, they're like the naturally occurring nitrates that you get everywhere else. It's only when you cook them over 350 degrees that they oxidize, turn into nitrosamines, and then they're carcinogenic. Otherwise, perfectly natural thing to occur in nature, and everything else that you eat nitrates whether you know it or not. Pork belly versus pork loin versus pork chops versus bacon. Now the bacon experiment is pretty simple. You eat bacon every day. If you're a man, you eat 2 pounds of bacon. If you're a woman, you eat 1.5 pounds of bacon. Now, if you have a large amount of weight to lose, like 30 to 50 pounds or more, that prescription for the bacon is going to be just perfect for you. You don't have to tweak anything. You're not going to believe how you're going to lose weight eating that amount of bacon. You can substitute pork belly if you can't stomach the bacon like I did. For the first couple weeks, I pretty much did pork belly. It was only toward the end that I started realizing that my protein was a little low, and that if I ate enough bacon or pork belly to make my protein macro so that my muscles weren't starving, I would be basically force feeding myself so much fat. It wouldn't be burning body fat, it would just be burning dietary fat. I went with pork loin and pork chops so I could get my protein macro up without overloading my fat. But for most of you, if you have like 20 to 30 to 50 pounds or more to lose, then pork belly or bacon is going to be perfect. But if you're going to be using one of those meats that's not salted already, like bacon is salted, so you pretty much get all the salt that you need. If you're going to be using one of those other forms of pork, then make sure that you're adding enough salt to your diet. Salt the meat heavily, or add salt to your water like I did throughout the day. So every time I drink water, I make sure that I add salt and some of the no salt, so I get all my potassium and I get all my sodium that I need, because you actually need a ton of sodium in your diet because it's an electrolyte and you need electrolytes to function. There are different ways to cook it that you might find suitable, that you might find more or less convenient. Dan shows a lot of baking of bacon. That is easy because you don't really have to attend to it. To cook a couple pounds of bacon, it takes 40 to 45 minutes to cook it that way. Someone else shared a little trick in the bacon experiment recently where they took 3 pounds of bacon and they put it in the pressure cooker, and 15 minutes later it was fully rendered. That means it's pretty much fully cooked, it's just not crispy. Then you just take a minute and crisp it up in a pan or crisp it up in a microwave. I also have this nifty pan that is kind of like an air fryer for your oven. It's a basket, and you can fold your bacon in that. You can easily fold up 2 pounds of bacon in this thing. But the nice thing about that is that it renders the fat, the excess fat off of it, because you're not going to be drinking making that extra fat. But if you do cook it like this, then you know you're cooking it right in the fat, which is really tasty, and it's totally within the plan. But make sure that you dry off the bacon before you're done. You can air fry stuff. So I use my air fryer a lot. With pork loin, I could chop it up into slices and then slice the slices in half, and I could cook up 1.5 pounds of pork loin, which was enough protein for me and still a pretty fatty cut of meat, and I could cook that up in 15-20 minutes in the air fryer pretty easily, and it was fully cooked and it was nice and crispy on the outside. It was wonderful. I got an ultrasound done this month on my heart because I'm concerned about AFib. Not everybody who is doing the bacon experiment happens to get an ultrasound done 2/3 of the way through it. I got an ultrasound done. My heart's perfectly normal. In fact, for my AFib ablation, which if you guys don't know about AFib, it's not related to cholesterol, it's not related to calcium in the arteries or anything. It's not something that I could have done something bad to cause, or that I could do something super good to fix. I'm trying to figure out if I am a candidate for ablation surgery, and so the ultrasound showed that I'm a perfect candidate for it. I'm very low risk because all of my cholesterol markers and my CHAD score is fantastic. I know Dan has recently gone on a little bit of a protein sparing modified fast, and that's something that I'm going to incorporate in my diet. My last resolve for the bacon experiment is that I am going to eat vegetables and carbohydrates very, very sparingly now. I think that the importance of fiber in the diet is severely overstated because I have perfectly normal digestive function now, and all I've been eating is meat for the last 30 days. If fiber was that important for me to have working digestion, everything in my body would be failing right now. I'm convinced that most of the digestive function is determined by your electrolyte balance. Since my electrolytes are in balance, my digestive system is in harmony and working pretty much normal, more normal than it has in maybe decades. So I will be eating vegetables when I want to, when I would like to, but not because I have to, because frankly, I don't think I do have to. I'm going to be doing more protein sparing modified fasts where maybe for a day or two, or maybe at times maybe a week, I will just eat meat. It'll be a fatty cut of meat, but it won't necessarily be like 50-50 like bacon. So going forward, that's going to probably be my approach. If you've read it in my posts in the Facebook group, then you know that my approach has evolved. It has changed over time. As I research more, I read studies, I read what the goals are, that they go in thinking this, and a lot of times they come out thinking that. My approach has changed in the same nature. I go in thinking this and I come out thinking that. I am still a strong proponent of keto, probably stronger than ever. I'm going to be scaling way back on the amount of carbohydrates that I take in, both from vegetables and from, treats and stuff, which I naturally have a less craving for. So these are my final thoughts on the bacon experiment. If you're interested in these videos, if you're interested in my journey, if you're interested in sharing with me your journey, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button down there and make sure you hit that bell notification button. That way you get notifications when I go live, you get notifications when I post a new video. Make sure that you check out the BroBryceHealth.com blog site, where I'll be posting articles on this stuff and posting pictures and progress and things about my journey and things that I learned. The Facebook group is wide open. That's BroBryceHealth.info. I hope that you'll join us there, join in the conversation. Every Saturday, I'll be doing a 4 p.m. live keto chat. You guys can check in, weigh in, ask questions, ask anything, and if I don't know the answer, I will do my very best to find out for you. Thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please share it with your friends. Please share it with anybody considering this massive dive in headfirst sink or swim keto experiment. Thank you, Dan Quibel, for the bacon experiment. Thank you, Jason Maddox, for all your support. Thank you, Crystal Quibel, for supporting your husband in this fabulous endeavor where he's able to help thousands and thousands of people. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon right here on the BroBryce Health channel. Bye-bye.